Yeah, right.
Maybe it'll have a majority of the crowd. Please go ahead. How do we get church? How do we get
Yeah, let's put it in front of the
how do we get questions up to the moderator?
Looking forward to the challenge of your home.
My wife?
Was that
We did.
You're kidding.
We did have a good way to.
There's second row seats.
Plenty of room in the choir loft, ladies.
Second row seats, plenty of room.
You notice they're sitting up front.
Well, you're close. You're in the middle. Yes.
Is this your seat?
Yeah, that's my seat. Not unless there's a Peggy's stool there.
They are when they're married, is that getting married?
Oh, nice.
Save your seat right in front of you. Oh, yeah, you're good. It's only, I mean, that clock is picking us up. It's only 1 minute or 7 still. That's right. So, people are fixing nothing will happen first. 5 minutes.
Have you decided what order people are going to go?
Yeah. Maybe we'll work a swap to say this 1 minute.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. Welcome, and thank you for coming to this candidates forum, and we appreciate the candidates and one candidate stand-in, sit-in, attendance, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve Wight, who's going to be our moderator for the evening. I just wanted to let you know that these the questions are going to be, or the answers to the questions are going to be timed. And if you see me holding up these, I'm going to give each person a 30-second warning, and that's going to be their time. So we're going to try not to, I ask them to keep their comments brief. And after we get done with some prepared questions, we're going to ask you to, if you have questions, please raise your hand and be recognized by the moderator, and then come up here and we'll get by then we'll have the microphone here, and that way you can state your question so that everybody can hear it, and then you can address whoever it is you'd like to address. Okay? So Steve, take it away.
All right, thank you very much. Well, welcome again. I am Steve Wight from Newry, and I'm honored to be involved in this. I think it's a great idea. I think it's great that there are 6 candidates for 2 positions tonight, and I'm sure that everybody's anxious to hear who they are and what they stand for. A couple of things. Just like me, everybody please turn off your cell phone. Okay, the other thing is that Larry Smith had an appointment at Togus today, and he just called and said he was leaving Togus. So Mark Velo has, I don't know if he offered to step in for Larry, but he has some written statements that Larry was going to use, and he'll be reading those when it's Larry's turn to speak. And then when it comes to questions from the audience, obviously Larry's not here, and Mark, nor probably any of us want to speak for Larry. So catch Larry in town and ask him any questions you have beyond that. Try to accommodate him as best we can. Okay, and as far as the list of questions, I don't know if you have seen the questions. If you haven't, it's even better, so it doesn't matter what happens. We had originally had 7 questions, and before that we were going to give everybody time to tell us who they were. But to shorten things up just a little bit, we've decided that we were going to ask, who are you and why do you want to be a Bethel Select person? Is that what we are in Bethel, Select persons? We've only ever had one woman on the Select Board in the 200 years of history in Bethel, in Newry, and she says, I'm a selectman just like anybody else. But you're a selectman too, Pat? Okay, good. Well, then we don't have to worry about that.
Do you want to mention about Channel 11?
Oh yes, that's right. We do have the honor of having Channel 11 here filming for us tonight, and it will be, so this will be seen
Daily.
throughout the cabled area on local television, and beginning on Thursday. That's good. Okay, so the first question, who are you and why do you want to be a Bethel Selectman? And that's Mark for Larry.
Thank you. And I'm going to read this exactly as Larry wrote it. So I'd like to start with, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for organizing this public event. I'd also like to thank our moderator, Captain Wright, for your service to our country and the town of Newry. It's too bad you aren't a citizen of Bethel, so you could vote for me. This is my 2nd forum for town selectmen. I failed the first but plan on winning this time. I hope the Chamber of Commerce and Bethel citizen will be upheld this time. I seek the selectmen's chair to represent the taxpayers of Bethel. And thank you, Stephen, for this opportunity to get my name out to voters, both here and on Channel 11. And question 1.
This will be question 2.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah, question 2 is what we're after, is why he wants to be a selectman, then we'll come back to question 1. Just to confuse you.
Oh, thank you. I want to be a selectman in the town of Bethel to represent the youth right through to the elderly, along with the new taxpayers that come in the area. I want a healthy environment to live, work, and play here in the town of Bethel.
You can pass that on. John, same question.
I am Wight, a lifelong resident here in Bethel. I have worked in the customer service industry here in town for over 12 years. Many of you have seen me or worked with me at the Big Apple, or most recently with Northeast Bank. I have talked to many of the residents on issues and things in the area, and along with visitors that come to visit us. Why do I want to be a select person, something for Bethel? I want to service this town that we live in, and be involved to keep the town where it's at and help build and grow.
You got this great dance with the microphone.
Hello. I'm Peter Southland. I've lived in Bethel for 10 years. We've had a house here for 21 years, but we moved here full time. Went to a position at Gould. I teach biology and chemistry at Gould, and I also coach the cycling teams. 3 years ago, I opened up Bethel Bicycle in town, which was a new business venture for us. My wife Sarah teaches physics and chemistry at Telstar High School, which means that over the last 10 years we've taught science to every 18 to 28-year-old in the entire region. They probably couldn't have avoided us. A few slipped by, perhaps. My daughter Samantha's out there. She just graduated from Gould Academy last week, and I have a son going into 9th grade, Max, at Gould. He just finished through Crescent Park and Telstar. So why do I want to be a Bethel selectman? So in some ways, becoming a Bethel selectman is my first step towards establishing complete world dominance. But then I thought about that and I decided that on the other hand, that was a really bad idea because I really don't want to run the world. So I'm going to just stick with being a Bethel selectman. I would like to be a Bethel selectman. I'd like to help this town continue to develop in a way that allows it to maintain its sort of what you see out the window every day is incredible natural beauty and resources, but while still trying to benefit as many people as possible, developing ways for people to support themselves, developing local business, trying to make Bethel economically sustainable into the future for all of us. Thank you.
My name is Pat Carter. Is this on? My name is Pat Carter, and I live here in Bethel. I was born and brought up here, as my ancestors way back when were born and brought up here. I live on the Intervale Road. He goes traipsing by on his bicycle often. I'm married. My husband's name is Ted, and I came back here to live full-time in about 25 years ago. It's a great place. You know, we went off to seek my fortune and found it right here. So I'm back here. Why do I want to be a selectman? Over the years, I've had many experiences which have led to this place in my life. Hopefully, I've gained some wisdom along the way. I've spoken to several people whom I highly respect and who know me, and they encouraged me to run. I spoke with my husband knowing that if I were elected, it was going to be, he'd have a lot of evenings, maybe I wouldn't be there. And he still thought that that would be a good idea. He thought I would do a good job. Anyway, I have the time and the energy and the desire to serve our town. And to me, it's all about serving the community. You know, my ancestors stood up to the plate and took their turn in serving this community, and I'd like to follow in their footsteps.
Good evening. My name is Jim Bennett, and I started coming to the Bethel area in '73 skiing, and then started working here part-time when I was a teenager, and moved back here in 86, moved back here full-time. I'm on the Bethel Fire Department, Bethel Rescue, on the Budget Committee, and I've been started with Bethel Rescue in '87 and fire in '94, and I was on Area Fire from the beginning in '87. I have 3 of my own businesses. I worked for the mountain for almost 25 years before I went out on my own. My wife, Robin, and I live up off of Chandler Hill, and as far as the reason to become the selectman, people have asked me about it. I decided that it was probably about time, not a politician. I would never claim to be one, and I always said that I'm not going to do it because I'm not a politician. But maybe that's a good thing, it's shining a set of different eyes on things and not being a politician might be an answer. So that's
Not an agenda.
I'm Steve Barry Lyon, and Sharon and I moved here 11 years ago from Bethel, Connecticut. We've grown to love the area. We've been made to feel very welcome here. And we got involved in various things around town fairly early after our arrival here. And we find it a very welcoming and unique community. And why I'd like to be a select person? Well, it really didn't occur to me until I joined the group to stop the asphalt plant last year. We had well over 200 people interested in supporting that complicated and exhaustive effort. And it opened my eyes not only to the guts of our codes and ordinances and procedures, but also to the people that work for us here in both paid and unpaid capacities. The highlight of that experience came in January when Al Cressy opened the planning board meeting with an admonition that we were participating in an old and very pure form of American democracy. He said that business would be conducted in a way that respects that tradition and the will of the people too. That impressed me very powerfully. Every person on that planning board, throughout every painstaking meeting through over 4 months, worked themselves to exhaustion on our behalf. If you hadn't seen it, you could scarcely believe it. I reflected on that and thought that, Al Cressy is absolutely right, and if I don't participate in the business of our democracy, I'm abandoning it to people with perhaps less citizen-oriented ambitions. Just between you and me, I think we're seeing way too much of that generally. To be candid, I really don't know yet if I'm up to the task of selectman, but I'd like to do what I can.
I'll bring it back, Steve. That's all right. I was going to have you take the next question, but I decided that. Oh, I can do that. I get exercise.
Thank you all very much. The next question is question number 1, if you're counting, which is, what is your experience in business, government, and clubs, and how will those experiences contribute to your performance as a Bethel Select person?
I feel my experiences in business and in civic activities have helped prepare me for public office. I grew up in Bethel and lived there for most of my 65 years. I grew up playing baseball here as well as being a Boy Scout. I attended Gould Academy and the Woodstock High Schools. And in 1963, the American Legion sent me to Boise State, where I got my first introduction to how government was run. I served our country in Vietnam and was honorably discharged. I was elected as the first Vietnam veteran commander of American Legion Post 81 in Bethel, and I also represented the veteran of foreign wars as an All-American Post Commander. I served the Lions Club as King Lion, and I was the first full-time paid ambulance attendant here in Bethel. I was self-employed for many years in the logging industry, building an all-season road and completing 13 logging contracts in the White Mountains. I served on the board of the Maine Woodsman Association. I'm now retired, a cancer survivor, and a gentleman farmer. All of these experiences have taught me much and made me who I am today. Along the way, I've dealt with most of the town's departments and have an understanding of how things work. I've learned how important it is to work and play well with others, and how to do that. I've learned how to get things done well and done right. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for those who came in after we started, this isn't really Larry. This is Mark, who's filling in for Larry and reading Larry's prepared statements because he was hung up at Togus today. Won't be back until later on.
With working in customer service, I have learned that you need to listen to what people have to say and work with them to make informed decisions that will work best for all parties involved. By growing up in this town and being involved with the Boy Scouts and youth groups in the area, I have learned to give to your community and serve in any way you can. I am still involved with the Boy Scout program today in both the local and district level, helping to keep the program alive and growing. I am also involved with the Bethel Area Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, which is a great organization that puts business in this town. I am also proud of the Bethel Masonic Lodge and Chorus Shriners that are great programs that help to give back to the community and the areas they are in.
Three years ago, we took the plunge and started a bike shop in Bethel. It wasn't particularly the best time to do that. It was sort of the bottom of the depression, well, we don't want to call it the recent recession, and it rained for 6 weeks after we opened our doors, which is not good for a bicycle shop. However, in many ways, that was an act of desperation. I'd been coaching Gould cycling teams, and I was very tired of not having a bicycle shop in town. It was pretty difficult. This was my first foray into the retail world, and it's taught me a lot about doing business, hiring employees, paying even more taxes, paying for insurance, becoming involved with the Bethel Chamber of Commerce, maintaining inventory, and providing customer service. At the same time, I still enjoy my position as a teacher at Gould Academy. I love to teach. I like to get to know my students and help them reach their goals. I also serve on the board of the Mahuza Community Band and the Bethel Outing Club. Both of these have helped me to learn to listen to different viewpoints and try to build consensus so that these organizations can reach their goals more effectively. So I have a sort of a wide range of different activities here in the community that sort of help me figure out how to work with people and to get things done.
I have never had to meet the challenges of running a business, unless one counts, which I do, successfully running a mini business of caring for the financial needs of a growing family, saving for college education, paying off another one that had already happened, and buying a home. It's about priorities and living within your means. I've served on the planning board and am currently serving on the Board of Appeals. During my 20 years of living in New Hampshire, I was on the board of directors for the New Hampshire chapter of Arthritis Foundation. I was a board member of the Stratford County Mental Health, representing my community. I'm currently treasurer of the Middle Interval Cemetery Association and also treasurer of the Middle Interval Meeting House Society. I believe these experiences would be helpful for serving on the Board of Selectmen.
I currently own 3 of my own businesses. I've been the department manager overseeing anywhere from a small group of 3 employees to the department of 15 employees. I'm secretary for a large club consisting of over 50 members, and I've been on rescue and fire, founding father of the Newry Fire Department, and I'm on the budget committee. I was also student council president for my college. And
I have no direct experience in government whatsoever, but I was secretary, president, and treasurer, and trustee of an amateur radio club once back in Connecticut. In Beacon, New York, on the Hudson, Sharon and I co-founded the Spirit of Beacon Day with Mayor George Tomlinson. We worked to unite a badly fractured and violent community. It worked, and I'm proud to say that it still endures today. We worked closely with Pete Seeger and his family in the Hudson River Sloop Club to change the Hudson River and its tributaries from a sewer to a swimmable river and a huge economic and recreational resource. I led an IBM community action team in Dutchess County, New York. We rehab buildings and land for community organizations for the handicapped, the underprivileged, clinics and shelters. I designed, implemented, administered an OSHA-compliant computerized safety and health education program, boy, is that a mouthful, for a 12,500 employee semiconductor manufacturing facility. And that's still working today as well, as a matter of fact. Various projects around Bethel. I've worked with Jackie Cressy with the plantings for the Conservation Commission and the Garden Club, the Bat House on the Covered Bridge, and recently, as I said before, I worked with the Citizens Initiative to stop the asphalt plant and keep Bethel's air clean. I'm one of 3 partners in Maine Mineralogy Expeditions, a small business providing educational experiences at the Bumpus Mine and our exclusives at the BO, Bethel Outdoor Adventure. We get over 600 visitors a year from all over the world. We got a great reputation, and we're going to be directly complimenting the new Mineralogy Museum on Main Street. And that's going to be a real big thing for Bethel, I think. Sharon and I have participated or collaborated in various community activities pretty much everywhere we've ever lived.
you very much. The next question has to do with what are your goals for Bethel and how would you help to achieve those goals? And as we go down again, you could just state your name again so anybody that came in late is not totally confused.
My name is Mark Milo. I'm speaking for Larry Smith, who can't be here tonight. My goal as selectman is to work with the town manager and the other 4 elected selectmen to ensure the health, safety, and prosperity of the townspeople. To this end, I'd like to see 300 new homes built in the next 3 years. I'd work with the sewer, water, highway, emergency services, and any other town departments to make this happen. I believe most of the infrastructure for this growth is already in place. We have to make sure our improved subdivisions are sold out. Adding more revenue to our tax base should provide much needed relief for our existing taxpayers. The last thing anyone wants is for our tax rate to increase.
I'm Wight, sir. My goals as a selectman would be the town of Bethel would see that we maintain what we have and that we can work on to improve this town and help it grow. By listening to what people have to say, what things need to be changed to make this a better town, for supporting business and making housing more affordable for everyone in the area. Make informed decisions from discussions with the voters of Bethel.
Hello, I'm Peter Southman, who came in later. So my goals. One of the things that I'd like to work as a major goal as a selectman is to build Bethel's recreational infrastructure. I'd like to see trails for walking, sidewalks, Nordic skiing, bicycles, etc., connecting Bethel Village to Sunday River, to Mount Abrams, and our schools. That would serve both as a way to allow our local residents to be more active, but also as a way to provide more going on during the summer, where we often have an economic lull in this area. This would allow more kids to walk to school, ride to school, reducing our need to pay for bus transportation, and help to raise healthier kids. I'd also like to work towards making Bethel a more sustainable, perhaps even carbon negative community, looking for ways to reduce our energy expenditure for heat and electricity. This would include looking for ways to reduce heat waste and electrical use in our town buildings and schools. If we can show other municipalities how to reduce their energy consumption and reduce carbon dioxide emissions, perhaps we can help slow or reduce global climate change. I really like Bethel's climate. I'd like it to stay the way it is. I'd like to keep on being able to ski here. But if things keep going the way they're going, that probably won't last for much longer. So the climate of Bethel is one of the reasons why I'm here, and I'd like to keep it that way. So those are a couple of my goals.
My name is Pat Carter. My goals for the town of Bethel, using a nautical term, is to help keep a steady hand on the tiller through these tough, economically challenging times. It is not the time to spend money we don't have and have no guarantee that we will have. We do need to keep the infrastructure of our town in decent condition. I'm sure our town manager, Jim Dorr, and the selectmen have that in place, and I'd like to help them in that endeavor. Over the years, the school system has taken more and more money to keep going. This escalation takes from the town and makes it very difficult to keep things running properly. Taxes go up and up. Is it possible, I'm asking, to put a cap on it? Is this naive of me to even ask? We have to curb spending in our own homes in order to pay our higher taxes. Something has to give. And many, many people are having a very difficult time paying their taxes right now.
Jim Bennett. I do not have a personal goal or agenda. What I do have is the desire to work with residents and to represent them to the best of my ability while keeping an open mind to the voters' needs.
Seabury Ryan. My goals for Bethel, I want to help protect and promote the special character and values reflected in our town, as many of us have spoken here tonight so far. And I want to prevent bad decisions that may be expeditious, but they are very unwise in the long run. I want to see everybody engaged and enjoying each other's company while conducting the business of governing Bethel and our surroundings, which are irreplaceable treasures. They really are. I want to see Bethel live up to its advertising. Truth in advertising. What a concept. From what I see in the promotions, pictures, signs, wrap cards, ads, websites, all that, we're a great place to live and to visit. And I want to keep that working to make it, keep working on making it and keeping it that way. You've heard of the great Brookings Institution and the study Maine paid for to analyze what we were as a state and what we need to set ourselves back on firm economic footing. Well, they've already done the heavy lifting as far as I'm concerned. I'm a citizen, I'm in a small business, I'm supposed to be retired, but I'm more busy than I've ever been in my life. But I must say, as a guy from away, this is one tough place to live if you're a family guy and not making well above the median income. So I want to help where I can. I want to put Bethel and me too on a trajectory to prosperity. And the Brookings and Grossmark Maine project are pointing the way. I suggest we follow it. We paid for it, we should use it.
Thank you. The fourth question is, what specific issues do you think should be priorities for the next Board of Selectmen? And what ideas do you have for addressing those issues?
My agenda is first to be elected. Second is to attend all the meetings. Third would be the agenda of the town manager and the 4 other selectmen. It's my job to sit with an open mind and watch out for our tax base. I will make sure that money spent by the town is money well spent. I also intend to keep in touch with and be available to my constituency to make sure their concerns are heard. I will be a voice for all of Bethel's citizens.
To watch our spending, make sure that we do what's needed and not go overboard in these economic times right now. We need to grow, but we also need to watch the spending and keep the taxes lower if we can, or at what they're at.
I'm afraid this is going to be a recurring theme. Taxes. I don't like paying them. I understand the need to use our group buying power to fund roads, schools, and other basic services, but it still hurts to write those checks. I think one of the select board's key roles is to figure out how to keep our taxes under control for now and the long run. As I answered my last question, I would like to look at Bethel's municipal buildings and to make sure they are as efficient as possible. We need to decide what to do with excess space, such as we can see with the Ethel Bisbee School or Odeon Hall. Perhaps we can find partners to help us renovate some of those spaces to make them energy efficient for the future, or perhaps we need to cut some of our holdings. I also know that a key part of holding our taxes where they are or reducing them is to bring more people and business to Bethel. Bethel can increase our revenue, bringing more people can allow us to increase our revenue, either therefore allowing us to reduce the mill rate or provide better services. But in some cases, this is a catch-22. I've been concerned for a while about what I see in our public school system, where we're not providing the basic services that kids need to be competitive in the world. For example, we do not provide foreign languages in K through 8th grade. That means that we're well behind our competition, and that our kids won't be able to get into the colleges that will allow them to be prosperous when they grow up. I also know that we don't teach very many AP classes in our high schools, and that's how high schools are judged these days. And if we can't play, we can't play. So it makes me rather upset that it's sort of a catch-22. If we don't spend the money to educate our kids, then those kids won't be able to make money and come back to town and live here. So it's a difficult situation to get all that done. But I still don't like paying taxes.
I don't have any specific issue that should be a priority for the Board of Selectmen at this time. However, I'd very much like to see an open forum with moderator for the citizens of Bethel to come together and ask them this question, this particular question that we've been asked. We have many talented people in our midst who have ideas of merit, and they should be invited to share their thoughts. These same people may not have the desire or the time to serve on the board, but would probably welcome the opportunity to have a part in this town.
Everybody agrees that keeping the taxes down is the biggest thing. And addressing overspending, which the town of Bethel does not overspend. Our current board, as well as the town departments, are and have been doing an excellent job at that. They do work very hard at trying to stay at the bottom line, and I will help to continue that trend.
I really liked what Pat Carter said about the open forums, and you'll see why in a minute. For starters, I'd like to start a few things to improve citizen awareness of and participation in our governance. I'd like to begin by making all published notices and agendas more people-friendly. You've got to be readable and informative enough so that you can read them and understand what the issue is, so you know whether you're interested or not to show up at meetings like this, for instance. Make it easier for all boards and staff to do their job by improving citizen attendance. Result: better input, better decisions, better oversight, and more confidence in the process and the people who work for us. Better notices will also reduce public confusion and demands on staff for looking for information and clarification. Based on the asphalt experience, we should also review our ordinance rules and procedures for adequate protection of our assets and our values. Otherwise, we're open to non-budgeted expenses down the road, like the legal expenses and consultants, for instance. We came very close to having to spend a lot of money on that case. A major issue, however, is the revival of our moribund comprehensive plan. It is the will of the people. It is our autobiography. It took years of public input, discussions, negotiations, and to produce that work. It describes what we are, and more importantly, what our aspirations are. Our codes and rules are and must be built on it. It is intended as a guide for planning our future, yet it's being largely ignored.
Okay, here it is. Why you? What can you offer that the other candidates cannot?
All of our candidates bring unique qualities to the table. What can I bring? Stickability to Bethel. I've played sports in this town. I've worked in this town. I've been the owner of a successful business in this town. And I'm a taxpayer in this town. I've sought this office a few times in the past. I'm older and wiser now. And if the people of the town of Bethel vote me in, I'll be there for you, at least for the next 3 years. Thank you.
I have always lived in this town. I know a lot of residents from growing up here. I am always open to meeting and talking with anyone from the community on anything they may have for concerns and seeing what I can do to help.
I have a fairly broad perspective on a variety of Bethel's largest employers. I work for Gould. I've worked for Sunday River as an ambassador, and I've had my wife and kids, well, my wife's still in SAD 44, but my kids have both gone through the school system from kindergarten through 8th grade and at Gould. So I've seen a lot of the larger pieces of this town and how they work together. I ride my bike a lot. I get to see what kind of shape our roads are in from a very close perspective, and sometimes it's not so good. So I have a pretty good handle on that. I also work with kids a lot. I work with kids every day. So I get to see what our future looks like all the time. And I get to see sort of where we're headed and where their interests are and where we need to pay attention as a community to make sure that we're ready for them in the next 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm planning to be here for 50 or 100 years, but that kind of time span.
I think I can offer a different point of view than maybe some of the members. Not Peter, because he addressed one of them. I've had many, many years of working with children and still am doing that, and I love them to pieces, but keep that in mind. And I may be more in touch with kids than they are because I do it on a daily basis. Certainly the younger children, he has the older ones. I've had a lot of different life experiences. And also, since I'm about half the population of our community are women, I feel that I might be able to represent them better than perhaps my male colleagues.
I'm going to argue that. I know not to argue that. I've been involved at the town level since '87. I started coming to the area in '73. I started working here part-time in '80, and I've been here permanently since '86. I also know that I won't always agree with each member's point of view on the matters at hand, but they will have my respect, whether I agree with the topic or not.
I don't presume to know what I do better than any of the others here. As far as I know, we're all new at this, or fairly new at it. In fact, the question kind of bothered me. I stumbled on it for a long time. What would I base my response on? To me, it sort of smacked of the judgmental and confrontational stuff that plagues our political campaigns generally, and frankly, I just didn't think it was had a place in this forum. I'll leave the speculation up to you folks after you listen to us tonight, and maybe even after a little time on the job. However, you're always welcome to ask anyone who's worked with me how I go about getting things done.
You gotta be careful with that, Zimmer. I worked for a guy once whose motto was, Confucius said, "He who fails to toot own horn, same horn remains untooted."
There is a reply to that, Steve, but.
That was our break. Do you believe that the town of Bethel and the select board should actively support economic development in downtown and the Route 2 areas? Why or why not? And if so, in what ways should that support be provided?
Concerning economic development, I think the private sector does a fine job on its own. Some things we could do better to help support them might be better lighting and better parking. A campaign which stresses family 7-day vacations instead of just weekends could help. I'd always be available to listen to local business owners who might have ideas of their own and know best. Communications between business and government is essential to the well-being of Bethel both now and in the future.
It is important for the downtown Route 2 areas to grow, but I feel this is not a function for the select board. I feel the select board should support the growth in the areas as long as the ordinances for the town are being followed.
The town and the board must actively support economic development downtown and in the Route 2 area. On the other hand, it would be disgraceful if Bethel became another chain of strip malls or big box stores or fast food restaurants. What we have here is very special. Our current businesses provide a level of personal service that is truly exceptional. The folks at Western Main Supply and Brooks Brothers know my name when I walk in the store. At Home Depot, they don't. That's just one example that plays out here every day. We need to keep our downtown interesting and vibrant, and we can do this without losing but we have to do this without losing Bethel's character. The Bethel Chamber has worked a lot to help support business in Bethel, and I really appreciate the support they've given the bike shop over the last 3 years. This kind of support and developing, for example, the selectmen could really work hard to develop a buy local culture to help make sure that the people in this area realize what they've got and help to work, grow our own community and our own businesses in this area, so that our entrepreneurs have a chance to get going. And in terms of, there are other businesses that have started out recently, and that again, you can always, supporting them by giving them money is probably not going to happen. That doesn't seem very appropriate. Giving them tax breaks probably also isn't going to happen. However, sometimes just going as a selectman saying, you've started this business here, if you get together with that person over there, you could probably really make something go. And having the knowledge to do that and having the energy to do that would be a great thing.
This particular question really bothered me. I had a lot of trouble with it. First of all, I don't quite understand what actively support means. How active? As far as the downtown area goes, it's my feeling that there's only room for shops, small shops and stores, unless one counts the large pieces of land, which is part of, I think it's called Bethel Station. It was my belief that the Chamber of Commerce, probably not necessarily so, was the vehicle used for economic development. I don't believe the town should get involved in a big way. This question goes back to the number 4 question about the specific issues that the next Board of Selectmen should, what should be their priorities. And back to the forum idea, I think it would be good. I think we would get a lot of interesting ideas and things that we could go on. And I'd really, really like to see that happen.
I agree with economic development, but I also enjoy a small town. I'd rather be in a small town than why I'm here. I take pride in having to drive 30 miles to a traffic light. Like to keep it that way. But you cannot give a blanket statement saying, yes, it must be done this way, or no, it must be done that way. There are many things to look at, and they should be looked at with an open mind and looked at from all angles.
I love this question. Hang on there a second. I'm not getting personal. In my opinion, if we're not actively involved in economic development, we're pretty much just sitting there watching the agonies of the decline of a beautiful Maine town. We're a home rule state, and we can pretty much act in our own best interest as we see fit within the boundaries of our budget and the Maine state constitution. We have a lot more freedom with the Constitution than we do with our budget. So let's use it. Let's start by assuming our moribund comprehensive plan. All that work has been lying in the drawer for us to pick it up and go to work. If you aren't familiar with it, don't be too hard on yourself. There are those who would rather it stayed in the drawer. Do yourselves a favor or two. Go down to the town office, pick up those 2 nice little baby blue books, and go home and look at the index. Pick any topic that sticks out in your mind and start reading. If you aren't impressed with the content that you start reading, and if you aren't inspired with some of the observations that those little books make, maybe it's just not your day to be reading. If you do get that glimmer, let's start talking about it with friends, neighbors, and at meetings. Talk about working up a citizen-inspired development plan that provides sustained economic returns instead of squandering our treasure on uncontrolled sprawl. The kind of land wasting, area degrading, decay we see way too much of along Route 26 and Route 2. What a quick buck, speculation-driven, inexcusable waste those places are. Let's consider extending our underutilized town sewer, for instance, east of the bridge on Mayville to the Riverview Main, to service prospective retail and service businesses. Do you or anyone seriously doubt that if Bethel has the gumption to generate an inspired, full-featured plan, that we won't attract the kinds of businesses and jobs that will help us realize our goals and prosper going forward? If so, if you have a better idea, what is it? More Route 2 and 26?
Okay, the last question for this segment. Many recreational projects, for example, Davis Park Skate Park, are primarily privately funded. The town of Bethel currently budgets and spends approximately $20,600 annually, representing just over half of 1% of the town's annual budget for expenditure on recreational activities for the town's youth and adult programs, swimming, basketball, ice skating, etc. Do you support additional town funding for recreational activities and/or construction of town athletic fields or recreational centers and facilities? If so, what are some of your ideas on how to fund such additional expenditures?
I would ask that a recreation committee be formed to study this question. We first would have to establish a need for these facilities and services. The committee would also study existing town-owned properties along with other parcels. One idea, should no current town holdings be suitable, could be to acquire a property like the Bethel furniture stock land. Some buildings could be torn down. If any were suitable, they could possibly be turned into a community center. Sources of funding could include the additional tax revenue from the town government. Other possible one-time sources of funding could include the revenue from properties sold through tax liens along with private sector funding. This is a complicated question and would involve a lot of research. I want to make sure we have all the resources in this town to allow a rich and rewarding life for our residents.
I think it's important to have recreational activity projects. As far as what they are and what we'll do with them for funding, that would be something that we'd have to check with the community, see exactly what's needed, what's wanted, and see if they have some ideas on maybe getting grants or something to help pay to do these projects.
As you probably guessed, I strongly support the development of recreational resources in Bethel. However, I don't think we need to spend a lot of town money to do it. Mostly what the selectmen need to do is say, what a great idea. How can we make this work? What can we do to help? As opposed to just shutting it down. For example, the select board needs to work with local groups to pursue grant money from as many private sources, public sources, state sources, federal sources as possible. We've seen this work in my time here. We've seen Angevine Park, which is a pretty neat resource. My kids have really enjoyed that. We've seen the path along the parkway, which is fabulous. People use that all the time. And we've seen the skate park just recently, which again has gotten an awful lot of use. And most often what it takes is just support from local leaders, helping encourage people pursuing the grant money that's out there and available to make those things happen. And not to mention the volunteerism that goes along with it, because that's been a huge part of making those projects work, is rallying the local resources and getting them out there. From our local contractors to everyone who's helped, and just people who are interested in the resource. A couple weeks ago I was over at Mount Abrams and we started building a new set of mountain bike trails over there, which are supposed to be available for the public soon, as well as a new mountain biking club that's been working on that in concert with Mount Abrams. So that's pretty neat. However, one thing that I worry about in some cases, building large public facilities and then having to then deal with maintenance and upkeep for long periods of time thereafter. I think we really do need to keep an eye on that and make sure that what we build, we can also afford to keep up. Thank you.
I don't support additional town funding for recreational activities at this time. Remember, I said at this time. However, I do think town folks, young and old, would benefit from a recreational center. I would favor grant writing for this endeavor. What about raising the old Bisbee School, which the town owns, and putting a recreation building there? Perhaps it would be so constructed to house the food pantry and clothing exchange, combining the two and enhancing the probability of receiving a grant.
Bethel is not alone in trying to pay for the ways to run the town. Everyone in all the other towns, cities across this country, are trying to tap into grants, additional opportunities for everyone. I wish we had all of those things, and maybe someday we will. Unfortunately, those things take money. Until we can get a handle on some of the large ticket items that are keeping our taxes high, like the school budget, they are going to be slow coming up the ladder. There are a lot of things that need to be fixed, the roads, the sewer, the water lines, but without raising taxes, it will take a long time to get caught back up. I know that I and a lot of other people cannot afford to have my taxes raised even a little at this time. So we have to take baby steps to fix the infrastructures and add other things as we can. Everyone wants things, but unfortunately things cost money, and I have not found a way to get them for free. When I do, then I'll share it, and we can all have all the things we want.
This question sounds kind of silly during these difficult times to some people. Unless, of course, you've got kids you're trying to keep involved in school and motivated, trying to keep them sober, trying to keep them away from unplanned parenthood, trying to keep them healthy, from getting obese. And oh yeah, loving to live here too. Maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but wouldn't the quality of life around your house, our schools, the whole community improve if we had a few more alternatives to gorging junk food in front of a screen or getting really stupid with bad company? I'm getting way out on a limb here now, but wouldn't prospective families, visitors, and businesses find Bethel more attractive as well? How do we fund a project? Like most communities do. We slap on our proactive hats and we start. We gather a bunch of energetic, imaginative folks, like Pat and so many of us have said here tonight, make a nice big list of good ideas, select the most desirable features, brainstorm the potential talent, labor, materials from local and regional sources, and then search for grants and funding from regional, state initiatives, and private funding. It happens all over the United States. There are wonderful stories I hear on the radio almost regularly, and it's inspiring to hear those small communities doing it. Of course, no one has all the, no one person or all, of course, no one person can do it. It takes a community. And I think the biggest problem we have is a failure of imagination. Our stuckness is our biggest enemy. And to get unstuck, we got to get moving again, and we have to secure that bright future with effort. We'll make everybody here, including our kids, happy too.
That's the end of our prepared questions. Now there's an opportunity for questions from the audience. And I guess you have the opportunity to ask a question of all of the candidates, or you can select candidates to ask if you wish. So if you want to ask a question, come up to the microphone. And we'll worry about getting the microphone out to the appropriate answerer. Who's first? Come on up, Todd. You know the whole routine. Yes, come on up.
My question is, and I must admit I didn't attend a lot of selectmen meetings in the past, but I've attended a few, and there have been selectmen in the past at the meeting who sat through entire meetings, and there are many selectmen I could never discern what their position was, or what their opinion was, or how they were perhaps, I know they were serving the town by going to meetings, and you're all talking about doing what the community wants and listening to community output. So my question is, how do you personally feel you will connect with your constituents? And I like Pat's idea very much of a forum. But before, the selectmen come and go, and I haven't had that much interaction or opportunity to discern what they're thinking.
Okay, I guess that's for everybody, so we'll pass it down the line. The question is, how are we gonna get these good ideas?
Well, again, ever since I came here, I've had problems understanding what the issues were that these meetings were all about. They're less than clear most of the time. And I would really like to make our notices and our minutes and so forth more available. Make them more readable, understandable, so you can look at the newspaper and say, boy, I'd like to go to see that. A lot of them aren't. And some of the notices that come through to me, I subscribe to the bulletin. They don't have any subject in the line. Let's fix that. Make it more people-friendly, and you're going to get more attendance if people can understand what's going on in that town meeting, or select board meeting, or any board meeting.
I agree with Seabury on that, and I agree with Pat on the forum idea too. I can't guess what people are asking or what's going through their heads. And we're all guilty. I'm just as guilty. If we don't know, we ought to be asking and ask what it's about. But if that stuff is put out there better so that we know in a reasonable time frame, then we would know what we would be more informed.
Well, I think just in our moving around the community, all you've got to do is ask people, you know, what are your feelings about things? What would you like to see done? Or do you have any questions? Can I help you? I guess that would probably be the way I would go with it. And I hope I don't get any more phone calls than I already get. It's just unbelievable. I'm a slave to that phone. But at any rate, if you become a select person, you're fair game.
As most of you who know me know, I like to talk. So I'm pretty easy to find. A lot of the time I'm over at the bike shop or wandering around Gould or riding a bike through town, which makes it really easy because I can't roll up the windows. They're down all the time. So if you want to ask me what I think about an issue, or you want to give me your opinion about what you think about an issue, I'm more than happy to do that. I think I know that what happens with a lot of meetings and a lot of issues is that the meeting comes up all of a sudden, very quickly. And it's a great idea to have a forum ahead of time, or to have minutes put out ahead of time. And I understand how that all works, but I also understand that it's not always that easy to get all those things done ahead of time, because there's so little ahead of time. There's a lot of things that you stop. But anyway, I'd be happy to talk with anyone about the issues. And I know if I'm on a board, it'll probably be pretty hard to make me be quiet.
I like the idea of the forum too. I'm always around town. You reached at Monkey's Day anytime. I'm more than happy, and I do like to talk to people, find out what their issues and concerns are, and I'm going to be there to help the community. That's what this is all about.
Yes, Jeffrey.
Can I do it from here, or do you want me to?
No, over here, please. I want you properly lined up for television. Over here.
I want to follow this economic development. Oh, I'm Jeff Parsons, and I live in Bethel. Patty married me. I had to stay. I want to follow this economic development question. Peter Sattman kind of touched on it a little bit. Do you believe there are things we should do as a town to attract more businesses to the area to expand the tax base? If so, what? 20 seconds each person? Is that okay?
Follow the work that has been laid out for us through the Brookings Institution report and the Grow Smart Maine program. The heavy lifting's been done there. It's not rocket science. All we have to do is pick it up, read it, and pick the parts that fit our town best. 20 seconds.
I don't have a good answer other than somebody's already invented the wheel. We'll have to reinvent it.
And I don't have very much to say about that either. It's hard telling, not knowing.
I think we need to actively court and encourage people to open businesses in this area. We need to look around and see what people are doing in other places and say, boy, that would be great to bring to Bethel, and then try to encourage the appropriate people to make that happen, or to find people who are interested in opening business and figuring out how to help them get on with it and how to make them, help them be successful.
It is important for us to grow the town. There is resources out there that we can go to and use to help support people that do want to open a business and be there for them.
Another question? Well, nobody else wants to come, you can come back.
I came prepared with 4 questions. Can I ask more than one? Is that okay, Steve?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
We get 25 minutes.
I'm still Jeff Parsons, and I'm still married to Patty, and I still live in Bethel. The Mountain Explorer has had considerable success as a limited and winter-only bus line. What ideas do you have to expand it, either seasonally or geographically?
You got any more? Go ahead, ask them all.
Oh, wait.
Some
of us are memory
Actually, one has been answered, so I've only got one more left.
Okay.
I'll tell you, the second one, so that's the one on the Mountain Explorer, kind of almost along the same lines, if you pardon this one. What do you think, and Seabury touched on this, what do you think about extending the sewer line beyond the Androscoggin along the Route 2 corridor into Mabel and beyond the Sunday River, for example?
Careful, Sunday River is mostly in Newry.
Look, the sewer, the plant is underutilized, and we have a wonderful opportunity here to economically expand our tax base by building out on the Route 2 past Mayville towards the Riverview. And as far as I'm concerned, that's low-hanging fruit. Let's really pounce on that opportunity and develop a really good, welcoming, business welcoming facility, I was going to say, almost like Bethel Station was designed. That was a great task force that designed Bethel Station. Good thinking went into it. We can do the same for the Mayville extension. And as far as reaping the benefits of Sunday River hookup, that's negotiable. I'm sure that's a negotiable item. What was the other one again?
The Mountain Explorer.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a great idea. We just have to make an intelligent choice to do it at the right time, and that's going to take some serious survey and projections. We're not going to commission a bus and run into that expense lightly.
The Explorer is great. It does work. I don't have those notes with me. It's actually subsidized by the businesses and by the state portion thing. If I remember right. Yeah, this is a good point. Yeah. Whether or not it could expand to summer use, if it generated enough interest and generated enough ridership, there could be something. I mean, maybe not a full-size bus, maybe smaller, but there's a lot of other things that end up competing against that we constantly see on the budget side that people are asking for. The sewer, I don't see why I don't see why the stuff couldn't be added in for Mayville. I know that the extent of the cost is bared upon by the sewer payers versus everybody else in town, and I know that that's been a big issue in paying for that. And that's probably the biggest reason, I'm guessing, that it hasn't gone through to the extent that beyond there. As far as Sunday tying into Sunday Rivers, they have their line comes down from their plant and clean, but that's not on our side. It'd be a lot more than what I'd have an answer for.
Well, as far as the Explorer goes, where are they going to go to? You know, it's a good idea, but they have to have a destination. Do we have enough things going on year-round to warrant such a thing? I'm not against it. I just don't see where they're going to. As far as the sewer goes, up through Mayville, it kind of stops by the Riverview. There's a lot of private property, there's a lot of, it doesn't look like it's very topographically friendly to be putting that there, and there are a lot of private people, private ownership there. So I don't know that is particularly viable. And Sunday River can take care of Sunday River.
I like the Mountain Explorer. I helped pay for the Mountain Explorer through the business this year for the first time. But I'm not sure that, I always wonder, especially when I ride the Mountain Explorer on a day when its ridership is low in the winter, whether it's cost effective. I would be more concerned in the summer. However, it's one of those, we have to do some kind of cost-benefit analysis to figure out whether having the bus going back and forth from the Sunday River to Bethel is going to bring people off the mountain, and enough people off the mountain to Bethel to benefit Bethel's businesses. So that's something we could do that kind of analysis. I feel the same way about the septic system. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I have to see somewhere on paper where how much it costs to extend the line, and therefore what kind of benefit we would get. I don't like paying my sewer bill because I've got one of those now too. So I'd love to spread that out over more people, but unless I can be sure that the cost of extending the line is going to be more than borne by the added people to it, then I'm not sure that's the way to go. Which it would, but that's in both of those cases. It's just a matter of looking at the costs and making sure the benefit's going to be larger than the cost.
I'm going to echo what everybody else is saying. We do have to look at the cost and if it's a benefit for either of the non-plan explorer to run longer or for the improvement to be extended. We need to see the figures to make an informed decision.
Steve?
I'm Steve Seams. I'm not a native of Bethel. I came from Greenwood, but it's not very far up here. Contrary to popular belief, I don't always write with a fountain pen, and I read all the email that circulates around legally and some of it circulates around illegally in town. And about 2 months ago, I saw an email that was generated that said, "We all need to seize the Chamber of Commerce's view of clean, green, inviting, friendly, residential, social, cultural, and recreational to take up the seats in municipal government." I won't read the rest of it because it's just rude. I want to know who on the board is interested in the farmers in town who have been told that they find it offensive that they spread manure, if you want to call it manure, as Mr. Truman said, fertilizer. I want to know what the board thinks they should be doing to help people replant their forests after the forest has been liberated and it's been raped by some of the locals who are taking gravel from any place they can find it. And I also want to know what the board thinks they should be doing for forest product manufacturing people. We have some pretty important craftspeople in town who make furniture. We just recently lost a very substantial and pretty well-known post and beam person who went to Greenwood because he couldn't find any land that was within his reach to build a factory that he could make post and beam frames in. So he's gone to Greenwood. People in Greenwood are very happy. And the only other thing I'd like to say is I did not buy the Scribner Farm to clean up that side of Bethel so that the chamber could have another beautiful gateway. I bought it to turn it back into a 19th century farm. I'm not getting any grant money, and I actually really resent anyone's thought that I did this to make Bethel cleaner or friendlier. I did it to have an affordable place to live and to turn it back to the 19th century. That's the quaintness of Bethel, that there's still a little bit of that left, and everything hasn't been paved or turned into a motorcycle course or a skateboard park. Who's that?
Well, I can agree that we have to protect our assets, our timbering and our forest-related industries. And I was not aware of the loss of that opportunity to have a post and beam manufacturer in Bethel. I wish I was more aware of that. My bad. I really agree with that chamber statement, but I have no idea what that email was. It sounds pretty ominous, but just sticking to the content you read, I don't see anything wrong with the gentle pastoral vision that was portrayed there. However, that does not exclude industry like post and beam manufacturing, like wood pellet manufacturing, the furniture making. We got one of the best furniture makers in the region right here. Just check out that new website. It's really a marvel to see. I don't see a problem here in terms of stimulating support for programs to support the traditional industries, the farms, Steve, honestly. I think if it's economical, those guys are going to thrive. Right now, most of them, I'm sad to say, well, not most of them, but some of the larger ones are just gentlemen farmers who are retired and supporting the farm by retirement savings. That's sad. I see one farmer back there right now. I see one logger right now who got off his skidder long enough to come on down here and attend the meeting. But, you know, we got to protect those people, and I'm for that. I don't see any hostility towards them.
house, I'd be in the city. I don't, and that's why I'm here. I know nothing, I don't know anything about the email or any of the other items. I didn't know anything about a post being placed on.
Perhaps the question is,
kind of
is there something that the town can do to encourage business and to benefit business, and to see to it that we have a diversity of business in the area?
The answer to that would be, I'm sure there definitely is. I don't know what the answers are right off. Sound like a politician.
Go to the horse's mouth.
Pass it on.
I'm really starting to sound like a politician. Wow, I'm gonna stop.
I'll go back to that old forum trip, because I really think that that is what we need to have. And also a good review. What do we need? Maybe we need to update the comprehensive plan. Maybe we need to be looking at that.
Right on.
You know, I really think so. We need a lot more input. Us up here, we can't solve any of these problems. We cannot. We need everyone's input in order to get there. And I think our farms are very sacred, if not quite smelly at different times of the year. But the smell goes away, and the end result is good.
When we first moved to Bethel full-time, I was in charge of the Gould Farm, which, if you haven't had a chance to get down there, is a pretty neat resource, pretty unique for most schools anywhere. So part of my job since I've been there has been to get as many children involved with as much manure as possible. So I feel like I've got that covered. We make all our biology students get down there and spend some time down at the farm. Never mind the shoveling that goes on. As far as replanting our forests, if I'm not mistaken, they replenish themselves particularly well in this area, in this particular ecosystem. However, I am concerned with you with our wood products industry, because we're one of the relatively few places in the world that grows trees as well as we do. It's a pretty amazing thing. But I also think in this area, from what I've seen over the years, the people who are managing those trees are doing a relatively good job. I don't see a lot of federal clear cuts here in Bethel, Maine, like you do if you go out into Washington or in some of the other federal land. So there's a lot of privately owned land that's managed for wood growth here very, very well. The gravel industry, I think, is I'm not sure how that, I know we don't regulate that. I think it's fairly difficult to tell people to do what they can do and what they can't do on their own land, especially if it doesn't spill over the borders, for example, with the asphalt plant producing a smell. So I think unless Bethel decided there was a reason to create some kind of legislation about gravel pits, I think we're kind of out of luck with that for now, unless it's going to affect waterways or snow. And I think all of us buy gravel. I know we do. So I think I think there are a lot of things we can do to improve our economic base here. I think we need to look at everything we can do, from the wood products industry to the agricultural industry, of which wood products is clearly a part, to whatever else we can do. Whether we can, I've always thought it'd be nice to have a biotech company in Bethel tucked away somewhere, but so far, no luck. But I'll keep working on that.
Farming and the wood industry is what this town was based on for years. We do need to make sure we contain those and keep them growing.
We have to have a forum.
Yeah, we have to have a community forum to find out exactly what is important, because that's the main thing, is what the community of Bethel wants, and we can't make the decisions. We don't know everything that's going on or what town people want, so approach us. talk with us. That's the main thing, and we're here for you.
Do you have another thought?
Interestingly, I've strung together every comment here, and they round up into a nice little statement that was keyed by Jeff Parsons back there. We were talking about the bus and so forth, and we just mentioned a handful of things: farms, mines and sluice, manufacturing, and other kinds of features that we have around here. Let's have a little bus stop at those places like they do in Hershey, Pennsylvania, or in the what are those people in Pennsylvania that Bridget live? Amish, yes. You know, that wouldn't be hard to do. Start up there at the nice scenic Sunny River, or wherever you want to have that to be the terminus probably, and make a nice circuit out of it. There's one idea to work on.
So a horse and buggy going around town with
Driven by a guy with a wide
You would look great. See you later.
Are there any other questions? Go ahead. Yes, Larry.
My name is Larry Engel. I live here in town, and I didn't realize I was just in sort of a secluded community. I thought we were all Bethel. There's two issues I think I'd like to hear you people address. One of them is the fact, and it's a well-known population decline in younger people leaving Bethel and leaving other parts of the state and not returning to help or be able to help with the infrastructure, the growth, or whatever it is in that community. So we have this population depletion in the young people. We're going to educate them till high school, and then they're going to have to go on to college, find greener pastures somewhere else. We can't address that directly unless we have an understanding of what a business is that is an economic engine. That is a business that brings money from other parts of the state and other parts of the country into Bethel, so that all our local entrepreneurs can spin that around. And two, I would like you to address the fact that the biggest growth in population that's occurring in the state of Maine, and probably in Bethel, is the fact that people are getting older and people are retiring to Maine. What do you think about some sort of an economic engine creating an interest in Bethel as a retirement community in which people who are retired bring in Social Security money and other retirement funds, and that gets circulated in the town? So there's two questions for you, both of them population-based. One, our younger people are leaving. How do we address getting infrastructure going by way of economic engines that would bring them directly back? And two, how do we take advantage of the fact that Maine is growing older, and we could make this a retirement center?
Now we're getting down to it, I guess, aren't we? Keeping kids here, I touched on that earlier. First of all, make them glad they grew up here. And you've got to do that with making the educational and recreational facilities something they're going to remember positively, instead of, oh man, I can't wait to get out of here. That's first. That's a big subject in itself. Then you got to encourage them to go into business here, and in order to do that, you have to have the facilities that are going to accommodate the businesses that we hope to have here, seems to me. Think of, for instance, to accommodate old people and give a few jobs to younger people at a professional level and non-professional level. Think of a limited care, independent care facilities, nicely planned, generated right here by Bethel people. Not hard to do. The ROI is tremendous. There's good examples all over the world for these things. This is a great opportunity for that. Put it in the right place. They're great citizens. They pick up after themselves. and they pay a nice chunk of the tax base. That's just one idea. You know, this forum idea is just a place to start thrashing these kinds of things out. I love it.
They leave because there's nothing to do in their eyes. They want to get out, they want to explore, they...
Hold your mic up.
I remember being a kid and saying, I can't wait to get out. And then as you get older, you realize maybe it wasn't so bad. They've got to have a reason to come back. That's kids. They're going to come back if they want. They're going to go someplace else if they want. The pay, the cost of living, all of that, it's a state problem. We're not the only state having this problem. Everybody wants to, all the kids, they want to run off to the city because there's things to do. They get bored with that. There's two types of people. There's the people that get out of school and settle down and get married and go that route, and then years later they divorce and then they go out and they start having fun. And there's the ones that get out of school and they have their fun. They do their partying, they do their traveling, and then they settle down. I was the latter. I settled down late. Not a bad thing, because it turned out pretty good. Retirees to Bethel, I don't know that it's not a retirement center in some form. There are a lot that around. Maybe we can give, like Seabury said, maybe we can get some kind of elderly housing or some managed care. Maybe we can give them some kind of tax break or something to help some of these businesses. It's a group effort to have everybody to come up with the ideas.
Well, like Jim, I surely agree. You know, human nature is human nature. And when kids grow up, they want to have some fun and excitement. And they're not going to find it in their own hometown. They're going to have to go out and seek their fortune too. And usually, if kids have a good base and come from a community such as Bethel, they're the ones who are going to come back and retire here, more than likely. I do think it's a good idea to see if we couldn't, as Larry has talked about this before, not just here, but other places, see if what we can do about providing some kinds of homes or places for people to live, to come back here and retire. Those who are able to get around and those who need to have some help. I'd love to see that happen. And I'd be right in there swinging and helping too. I just think that's a great idea. But I do think there's no way you're going to stop kids from leaving here and going out to do their thing. And you know what? It can be very broadening. It is very broadening, and they grow up too.
I like the idea of trying to promote the growth of Bethel as a retirement community, but there are a couple big things that are really going to hold us back, and it would be great to try to work them out, but I'm not sure it's perhaps on the top of everyone's mind. The first one is there's no hospital in Bethel. Trying to get senior citizens to go and live, especially as they go through a long-term care facility in a place where there's no hospital, is almost impossible. Both of our sets of parents had trouble at the Gould graduation because there wasn't a hospital in Bethel. So it's very difficult to do that. The other thing is there's no college in Bethel. Most people want to retire where there's culture and art, often a college community. So we're seeing huge numbers of retirees going to places like Hanover, New Hampshire, Princeton, New Jersey, places like that, where there's great stuff to do and entertainment on a regular basis. I'd love to improve this. I was thinking of trying to apply to Harvard for a franchise for Bethel. so we can have our first Harvard franchise, like the Trinity franchise and the Wesleyan franchise. But the other thing is Maine's population is shrinking. It's going to continue to shrink until we figure out how to get immigrants to come here. No, the state of Maine's population is decreasing.
It is increasing.
No, it's increasing.
It is increasing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes,
Just
that was the
around
point I made.
on this particular.
Increasing?
It is increasing, sir. It is increasing with older people, 55 plus.
Right, but the kids are decreasing. And I think if it weren't for immigration, the entire United States population would be shrinking, from what I last heard. And so unless we can figure a way to also attract immigrants to areas like this, or retired people, but that's fine. But if you want young people, they're going to largely be immigrants.
That's a separate problem.
Yeah,
There's
so,
no problem.
yeah, there's the young people problem, and there's the old people problem. And not that they're necessarily the problems, but...
Let's throw on cloud middle age.
I think it's a good idea to have Bethel as a retirement community. It is a small town. People are there to help each other. Like, the main things would be like, the healthcare is not here. We don't really have the healthcare facilities that we need for our older generation. For the younger people, kids, myself included, left the area for a while. I came back because I enjoyed this small hometown feel. That is why I'm back in Bethel. And there is not really much opportunity for positions here for our young people to come back to. That is the reason why we're losing a lot of young talented people out of the Bethel area.
Yes.
I'm Carol Bowden. I live in West Bethel. And my question to the panelists are, the Massachusetts Air National Guard has renewed efforts, began first in 1992, to lower the flight training altitude from 1,500 feet to 500 feet over our heads. I would like to know if you feel that the town of Bethel should take a stand on that, why or why not.
We're talking about the municipality itself, and it's a selectman.
Wow, that one is really a sleeper. I was amazed to hear that, and I'm really glad to hear it. Frankly, from the input I've had from knowledgeable people in both the Air National Guard and in other services closely related to flight support, there are alternatives. The whole military strategy is in flux right now. And one of the reasons we haven't seen more aggressive pushing, I think, as far as low altitude flying here is because it may not happen ultimately. However, if it were to become an eventuality, a real hard push by them, I would definitely be against it. And I would like to see Bethel take a stand against it. I don't know how many of you have been there when a jet in pursuit goes over you at 500 feet, but I have, and it is not fun, even when you're at an air show. This is not the place for that. We don't need it pestering our livestock, panicking people on horses. It's really a bad idea. There are alternatives that are economical. That's all I'm going to say for the moment, but just let me assert that there is a lot of good information out there on alternatives to flying over this area.
I don't have the answers or know any of the answers other than the fact that from what I've been told, they're supposed to go up East Bethel Road. They seem to come right up through my house, but I also don't think I'm supposed to be able to look down into the cockpits. I think that's probably a little lower than they're supposed to, but I don't know the answers other than, yes, we can send a letter or something, but I'm not there's probably a lot more to it than I know.
If there are alternatives, and that's a big if there are, then probably they should be taking those other routes and shouldn't be flying right over the township. When I lived in New Hampshire, I lived on New Durham Ridge, which was not that far from Pease Air Force Base. And the ridge was the ridge, and it was the highest thing that the jets came over. We had animals, horses. We had kids. You could watch the pilots, and you could see them sitting there with their helmets on as they went flipping over. Was it pleasant? Well, no, but you know what? We got used to it, and we survived it. If they have to do it, they have to do it. If there is an alternative, then they should definitely be taking that.
I suppose I'd rather not have to go flying over Bethel at 500 feet, and I'd rather have them at 1,500 feet or not at all. But I suppose that's true for everyone. So if it doesn't happen here in Bethel, where does it happen? I mean, Wyoming sounds like a good idea because no one lives there.
That's what they say about Bethel.
Right, yeah, I'm sure they do. So I mean, it seems like it would have to be one of the, it would eventually become one of the possibilities that whoever screams the loudest is going to perhaps get them to change their routing. And I guess I'd be willing to scream pretty loud not to have people flying through at 500 feet, but realizing that they would probably dump them onto someone else who didn't scream quite as loud.
I'm not really sure how to answer this or where to go with it. If there is other alternatives, they should be using them. If they have to do it, then it's something that we have to adapt to and deal with, or see what else we can do for other alternatives to not have that happen.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Don Bennett, and I'm one of the selectmen in town here, and there was some obvious conversation about more participation perhaps in the whole board thing. Just on a cautionary note, Stan, can you do a double batch of brownies?
Be prepared for what you asked for. Other questions? Well, if not, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I think, and thank the Chamber in particular for putting this together. I think it was a great opportunity for those of us in the audience, and I hope it was a great opportunity for our future leaders of the municipality to be here to hear the questions from people and to get a chance to think a little bit about this. And I know it's harder to answer questions when you don't know what's coming. But I was a selectman for 34 years, so I'll tell you, sometimes you don't know what's coming. Okay, well, thank you all very much. Robin, do you want to say something? The brownies are always... Yeah, where's Travis? Yeah,